Hello, welcome to Mornings at the Allotment. My name is Rebecca, and this morning I want to take you on a very late July 2021 plot tour. Now, I was going to film this mid-July, as I did for the midsummer June plot tour, and then blight struck everywhere. All our neighbors, everyone has it on their tomatoes, and in our case it was mostly early blight, as you've seen if you've watched my video, and some late blight as well. And since the neighbors over there aren't doing anything about their late blight, I really have to check my plants basically every day. And that's what I've been doing. I've been spending lots of time with my tomatoes, and of course everything else as well. The weeds are, as you'll see, they're just rampant. And there's a lot to harvest, and plants need watering. So yeah, I've been too busy for a July plot tour, and then I just figured I'd do it at the very end of the month and give July some time to get the garden going. So the only problem with that is I didn't realize today is a Saturday, and Saturday is our community work day. So in about half an hour, everything around us is going to be busy, and we do have a community space right across from our garden, which will be mown at one point in the morning. So yeah, that's going to be loud. If the sound changes mid-video, you'll know why. I'm going to ditch this professional microphone that my partner gave me to use and just use my phone's microphone, because this one will catch all the conversations all around us, and my phone's microphone won't. It'll be just a hum in the background, so I might do better with my phone, with just my phone. Yeah, but let's get going, and I'll show you around. We'll see how far we get. So I figured you'd probably want to see what the tomatoes are doing, and I've also had some requests to do that. And as you can see here, we've got some that are ripening quickly, and actually these yesterday, these are the Turney Prince, and these are Costoluto Genovese, and these actually yesterday they were only pale red, dark orange, so they're taking on color quickly now, so I'm hoping we get to harvest those soon and taste them. We are mainly growing varieties that we don't know yet this year, which is also why I'd be really sad if I had to take individual plants out. And let's just go on a bit further. We have some more back here. Yeah. And back there. So yeah. And of course we have lots and lots of unripe tomatoes. Let me just turn around with you. Especially here, the big beefsteak ones. They're just, this one's huge. Yeah, they're going to take a while, and I hope we'll get them to ripen. Let's just go in the back there. I can't climb back to that area with you, so I'll show you from here. These are butternut squash, and I've actually found one fruit forming on these two plants. What was that noise? Something. I just need to go check if there's an animal in the greenhouse. Just a second. Nope, no animal. Okay, so back to behind the tomatoes. We have two butternut growing here, but so far I've only found one fruit starting to form. So let's hope those get going. Back there, in between all the leaves, you can see what's our biggest. I'm not sure, it's either a red curry or an uchiki curry. But yeah, one of those. And actually they're much bigger than they're supposed to get, which just goes to show planting and compost in the same place that you had them the year before doesn't need to be detrimental to their growth. And then if you look over here behind the greenhouse, you can see our Blauhilde climbing beans that are just massively taking over. That's also why I can't go back there with you. I have to crawl back there from the other side of the greenhouse because I also can't get through the tomatoes anymore. So yeah, you'll just have to look at it from here. For harvesting, I will have to basically crawl in there, crawl in that space, and then harvest from the bottom up. But yeah, I love that. That's abundance for you. Yeah, see, here you can see the little path between the tomatoes and the greenhouse. And actually those tomatoes have grown into it and I can't get through without breaking them. So I may try tying them back in the evening when they're more pliable, so that I can get through there again. That would be very helpful. Yeah, and here they are from the other side. So we have a total of 3 Uchikikuri and red kuri. I can't tell you which is which exactly. And they're going rampant. They're great. And they keep setting new fruit. Let me see if I can find some younger fruit. Yeah, there's more here. And unfortunately, our neighbor's plot is where the afternoon and evening sun comes from. So when they start growing after the heat of day, that's usually they start putting out growth in the evenings and at night. And unfortunately, that means they keep trying to push their fruit through the fence to the other side. So every morning I check to make sure that the fruit that is actually setting on our side of the fence and pull it through as long as it's small enough. Yeah, next to it, our Christmas tree climbing bean frame. And yeah, it's finally getting going. Some of these have reached the top and are now flying loose. I haven't tied them in at the front yet. I'll just let them find their own way. Just make sure that they don't go into that tree over there, but stay on our side. So yeah. I'm very pleased with that one so far. It's stable. We've had some high winds. Nothing has happened so far. It is shaded by the tree, so it should be fine. And if we turn, we get to the greenhouse, and some things have changed in there, definitely. Well, we still have some plants that need to go on the ground. I've done a bit more beetroot and some more fennel as well. And this is probably the most promising of my Minnesota midget melons for the Transatlantic Melon Challenge that Jim from the Lake Effect Gardener and Jane Kelly, Jane's Allotment, are doing this year and that I'm participating in. This is the second one here. Yeah, not looking too great. So I do finally have some flowers on here, but no fruit set yet. Then next to that, we have a couple of different types of cucumbers that are also finally beginning to set some type of fruit, but yeah, they really need to get going now. And some beetroot. Then here we have the strawberries that I kept in here. This is a new variety to us, and they're dying off here, but we have the new growth, and I really need to get that in some soil because that's why I'm growing them in pots. I want to keep this variety separate from the rest. More here. And here in the corner, we have one very sad looking sugar baby watermelon, but next to it, this one is actually growing a tiny baby watermelon. Look. Yay! I really didn't think it would do anything after this year, so very happy with that. And I just realized might be trying to do more up here, but I will keep that, considering it's so far behind, I will keep that down to 1 fruit, I think. Maybe 2? Nah, we'll see how it continues and we'll see how the weather develops, but I may just leave the leaves to grow. I'll let it vine a bit longer, but take off any additional fruit that it tries to set, because, sorry about that. Yeah, I want this one to grow into something. On the other side, we have our chili peppers, and I'll show you those close up because I love this one. This is a Lila Luzzi. They start out purple, and then as they ripen, they get paler up to almost white, and then they ripen as any other would, yellow to finally red. But yeah, they're edible now. We just want them really hot, or as hot as possible, so we let them ripen. So I have 2 plants of that. Then next to it, we have our jalapenos. See here. Well, they're all green at this point. We've harvested 1 green. I need to stake this one. You see, ugh, what a mess. What a tangle. Here you go. I'm sorry. Yeah, so these. And then we have the cayenne here. I've harvested 1 of those red, and I've just seen, let me see if I can show you. I've just seen that we have 1 other that is turning red down here. So a couple more days. I'm sorry. A couple more days. You can see the red in there. And finally, here, and these were the slowest, are habaneros. Now these, they're always slow. I'm not sure how ripe we'll get them, but that's the reason I planted them in the greenhouse, to prolong the season, especially for these. We do like it really hot. Now back here, there's just one thing I want to show you. I'm not sure if I put that in my previous videos. In the compost we had several squash plants self-seeded. They must have all been from 1 fruit. And at first I thought it was, when I saw this, at first I thought it was, we have a round zucchini, and that it had cross-pollinated with something else. But then I took a closer look at the leaves and the flowers, and then one of the fruit got really, really big. So let me see if I can, there it is. One of the fruit got very big back there. That's already the size of a melon. And yeah, I compared it to the spaghetti squash that I have growing in another part of the garden that I'll show you in a minute. And yeah, the leaves are the same, the fruit looks the same. So I guess this is from the 1 spaghetti squash that we actually bought in. We didn't grow them last year, that we bought in. And then we didn't eat it on time, and we had to throw it out. And I guess that's what's giving us these plants. Now I just hope it hasn't cross-pollinated with anything. We won't know until it's ripe and we try eating it, whether it's bitter or fine. But the leaves and the flowers and the fruit look precisely like the spaghetti squash that we're growing from seed. So I'm fairly certain that we'll just get a nice extra harvest here. So as expected, someone has started mowing the lawn behind me, which is kind of loud. But if I wait until community work hours are over, which would be noon, and then continue filming, I don't think I'd get this video finished today. And I want the July plot tour to be published in July. Okay, so these pickling cucumbers are doing very well. Well, at least the 4 regular ones on the left are. The 2 on the right are lemon type cucumbers, so they're yellow and also taste a bit like lemon. they haven't started producing yet, but the other 4 plants have, and they're producing quite a bit actually. They do look kind of diseased. I'm not sure what it is. If anyone knows, leave a comment below. But they're producing really well, so I'm not worried at the moment. Here, flowers all over the place, fruit setting, and up here and here and here. So I'm not worried. I'm actually very happy with these because last year we didn't get a single pickling cucumber. The slugs got all the plants. And I really like fermented dill cucumbers. And I just picked one more just now before I started filming, and that'll give me enough for my first jar of fermented dill cucumbers. So I have to remember to take some of the dill, which is going to flower, but that really doesn't matter. We'll use the flowers. It smells great every time I pick a pickle, pick a cucumber. I get that smell of the dill. That's why I planted it in between. Oh, look. Enjoying the sun. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the tomatoes earlier. I've been asked why I put orlotti beans around the tomatoes and whether that doesn't hinder airflow. Well, yes, it does theoretically, but it also prevents rainwater from splashing onto the ground from the sides of the structure. And actually the tomatoes that are here behind the orlotti beans had much less blight damage than the ones on the other side without any beans growing in front of them. So yeah, I just have to actually really prune back all the lower leaves of the tomatoes because of the ventilation issue. But the beans themselves are also doing great. You can see here they're ripening well. Can't wait to eat those. I just want to give you a quick look at the plants we're growing in pots. This is one of the Lila Luzzi that I've grown in a pot, simply because I want to overwinter it. And then this one was given to us by a plot neighbor, and it's actually producing really well, except I'm not sure what variety it is. I will be saving seed from it. I'll just call it Diego's pepper. And the cucumber melons, they're doing great. They're not in full sun, which was probably a mistake, but now I can't move it because it's tied in to all kinds of other plants and structures. I'm letting it grow along the top here and on the other side as well, and here, and yeah, it's producing really well for us. And I'm also going to try to make some fermented dill pickles with this. Ground cherry. Actually, it's funny, the one in the smallest container is doing the best. I have a couple of other ground cherries and they're not doing well at all. Although I think what they might have is blight. I'm just not sure. It looks very different from the blight on the tomatoes, but it may be blight after all. And approaching our shed is how you can probably see the biggest change that we've got. Remember how I made this bed? This is where we had the potatoes growing, and then I made the bed by just putting down compost. And I planted 5 squash into it. Let me see, we have spaghetti squash, and then we have African smaragd, it's called. It's like round, it's about this size, green fruit. I have one that's almost ripe, I'll show you in a minute, or I can put in a picture so you can see. Then another spaghetti squash, then another of the small round ones. As I said, African smaragd. I'll see whether I can find an English variety name for that as well. And the one on the end is a mashed potato squash. I'm not sure what the official name is for that. I'll put it below if I can figure it out. I do have the seed packet, so yeah. And they're just going rampant. They're growing up the top. I keep trying to take them down here. This one. But then again, maybe I should just let them grow and remove the pots. No, I will have to take them down. I think I'm just going to put down some more cardboard here in the front. And sorry about my shadow. Put down some more cardboard here in the front, or just let them grow onto the lawn. And this is what we have left in potatoes. The two in front here. Jane, Mike, this is for you. These are La Rat. And they are earlies, and I planted them end of March, 20th March, but they're still putting on new growth, even though they've been eaten by slugs. So since they are still putting on new leaves, I am just going to let them, and they store well in the compost, so there's really no reason to take them out. We don't want to eat them right now. We have enough that we've harvested. And then these are Golden Wonder, and they really need to come out. They also have blight. They've had it for a while, but they're still growing, so I left them. But these, interestingly enough, they are, oh, look at that. These are Franceline. They're supermarket potatoes, actually. And they appear to be fairly blight resistant because everything else had blight and these didn't. And they're actually the last two containers that I planted for Erica's potato challenge from Erica's Little Welsh Garden. So yeah, since they're still looking so good, I'm going to leave them in for a while longer. No, very surprised at that. I didn't think they'd do so well. Yeah, so weedy plot. I really need to do something about that. And let me just take you back there because I have some cucumbers there. And yeah, we have the Tuscan kale, or Cavallonero, that we grew last year, that then went to flower, where I cut off all the flowers and it came back, and it's looking pretty good, I have to say. I'm glad I left that in just to try. I was going to try taking cuttings, and they never rooted, but I'm glad I left the plant in because obviously that's working. And then here we have some cucumber plants that haven't really started producing much yet. They are producing, but these are salad cucumbers, slicing cucumbers. So yeah, we'll see how they do. I think they may not have gotten enough water. That's my fault. And again, we have the dill, and you can just tell I really need to do some weeding around those because I think they would produce better. Here, these are market more if they got a bit more light and if they didn't have so many weeds to contend with. Let me see, there's another one here. Yeah, here. So this is the next part I'm weeding. I have been weeding daily, or almost daily, but yeah, it's just too much. And my first job every day is to check the tomatoes for blight, and that's just more important right now. Look at this. So heavy with pollen already, and still collecting more. This is one of the benefits of feeding the birds. You get free sunflowers. Now the other two beds, apart from the squash bed, that have changed a lot are the two kale beds. And I've had to actually take off the covers because the covers aren't large enough to make them any higher. And all these plants were touching the mesh. And in that case, the cabbage white just lay their eggs through the mesh, so it's really not worth keeping it on. So now, of course, I have to check them regularly for damage to catch any caterpillars that might be on there. And these are doing really great. And I think I'm going to have to start picking some, especially to let the Cavallonero grow through the other types. The one in the front is the red curly kale, and the one in the back is Siberian kale, I think. Yeah, and Cavallonero in the middle. And over here we have a German variety of green kale. Again, Cavallonero in the middle. And this here is Abyssinian kale. And I think I've made a mistake there because that gets tall, which I researched that and didn't really realize it. And I think we're actually going to be picking the small leaves for salad here. And yeah, this is Cima di Rapa, and they went to seed except for this one here that I've started harvesting. The one blueberry bush that's actually producing. Yeah, I've already had some ripe ones and they taste great. But it's still very small, so we don't get much of a harvest. But I'm looking forward to next year. Now the cold frame also needs some weeding. I could basically weed it every day. But I just wanted to show you the second sugar baby watermelon that's doing pretty well. It's started putting on flowers. Of course, it's also very late to actually produce a melon of any significant size this year because we're so far into the growing season already. We're just very, very late this year. Yeah, but at least it's growing, which is a good sign. So I'll leave it in there. I'll give it a chance. And the beetroot in there as well. And now we come to the outdoor tomatoes. Now again, as before, if you see any blight that I've missed, let me know. The calendulas need deadheading and harvesting. Yeah, but the tomatoes, they do have some trusses, quite a bit of fruit on some of them, some large fruit on there as well. But I haven't seen any ripening anywhere yet. And look, this one, for example, has so many fruit on it, but nothing is starting to ripen yet. They're still green on the bottom instead of red. Yeah. And more basil that's growing really well. Then next to the tomatoes, we have the pepper bed. And I'm very tempted to take off some of these large ones because the plants are still so small. We're just very, very late this year. But we all really don't like green bell peppers. So I guess I'm leaving them on and just risking it. Also, too many weeds, I'm sorry for that. And then in the back here we have a fennel that I forgot to harvest in time. So now I'm letting it go to seed. And next to that we have the aubergine and summer squash bed, and here we have our first fruit on this aubergine called Black Beauty, and I really need to cut back this squash next to it quite obviously because it's shading out the aubergine. Yeah. So the squash is producing. This is just a regular zucchini and it keeps producing. I tried to harvest them small, produces well. And there's another one exactly like it. Sorry about my shadow again. There's another one exactly like it next to it. And then I have one final zucchini here, but this is a round zucchini. It's called Tondo di Toscana, I think. Tondo, yeah. And yeah, here. And when they get to be the size of my fist, then I harvest them. And our favorites right now, though, are the Patipan, Patisson. We have a white variety. Well, it's almost white. And that one's almost ready to harvest as well. That's just amazing. All three of them in there. All right. So the guy with the lawnmower is gone, and before the guy with the strimmer arrives, I hope you've enjoyed this tour. I tried to show you as much as possible. I can't actually get to all parts of the garden with a camera. In some places I showed you behind the greenhouse, I have to crawl through the plants. So I really need to figure out a better way to do that and to do the planting next year. Sorry. I'm very happy with the garden at the moment, especially considering how this year started. I know many first-time gardeners right now are really very disheartened and not sure whether they want to grow a garden again next year, especially because many start with tomatoes. That's like the one crop apart from herbs that everyone's like, oh, you need to grow tomatoes. So many people start off with tomatoes, and this year so many people have lost all their tomatoes to blight. So if that happens to you in your first year gardening, yes, I can understand that you would consider not gardening again next year. But I really want to encourage you to do it again and again and again. Every year is different. We had a wonderful tomato crop last year, but no peppers, no cucumbers. Our squash didn't do well. So it really depends on the weather. It's not your gardening skills, most likely. This year, so many of us are behind, even people who've been gardening for dozens of years. And to encourage you to keep going, I've asked a couple of other garden YouTubers to do a collaboration with me. So about mid-August, be on the lookout for that. We're going to show you how far behind our gardens are this year compared to the years before. And I'm here in my third year on this plot, and I don't have any video footage of 2019 and 2020, but I have plenty of photographs of my harvest and of the way the garden looked. And every time I feel like this is just so frustrating and we don't have a single ripe tomato yet, although you've seen we're getting ripe tomatoes now slowly, unlike others. But every time I feel down, I look at the pictures from the years before, and while they do remind me how far behind we are, and I would guesstimate about 4 weeks, they also remind me that it's not me. I'm not at fault because I can't grow tomatoes, or I don't know how to grow, I don't know, cucumbers. Much of it really is the weather, and you just can't influence the weather. You can just try to live with it. And the one thing is your climate. You can adapt to your climate, but you can't adapt to the weather in any individual year. And this year, in most parts of Europe at least, it's been completely different from what we're used to. And actually going into it, the winter was also much colder than what we're used to. So yeah, I'm very happy with my July garden. Can't wait to see how many tomatoes we get before the blight catches up. No, crossing my fingers, we will get tomatoes. We will get to eat a tomato salad, and maybe even can some tomatoes. So yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Then you won't miss my August plot tour, but you also won't miss the collaboration I'm doing with the others about how far behind we are this year. Give the video a like. That would be very helpful to show YouTube that you enjoy watching my videos. And I hope to see you again very soon. Bye.